Hello. Thank you for joining me for Your Health and Your Money, How to Manage Both. I'm Dr. Andrea Johnson, and I will be your presenter for this webinar. Before we get started, I wanted to just share a little bit about me. I am the owner of A&J Consulting Services, where I help individuals and business owners with developing solutions to their financial problems. That includes managing their personal finances, their credit, and their debt. I've also written several books on the same topics on how to improve your credit scores, how to save thousands on college tuition, how to start for-profit and nonprofit businesses, and much more. My website is right here on this slide, so feel free to take a look and learn more about A&J Consulting Services and how I assist people with managing their personal finances, credit, and debt, as well as the resources that I have to help people in the form of webinars, books, and additional resources. You can also learn more about my background as well by visiting the link under my personal story. Just briefly, I'm very passionate about um, helping people because I know what it's like not to really understand some things about finances. Um, I tell people, I have several degrees, but unfortunately, for years, I knew how to pay my bills, but I didn't know what to do after that. So any money that I had, I would waste, didn't know how to create a plan for my money, setting financial goals, all of those things. So you can learn more about my background, why I'm passionate about it, um, and just learning more about me as well as A&J Consulting Services. So you can visit those two sites to learn more. In addition to helping individuals, I also provide workshops and trainings to a number of organizations as well. So let's get started. So I want to start out with one question, and that is, what prevents you from managing your health and finances? And what prevents people in general from managing their health and their finances? Um, One of the things that I see with clients is the number one reason why they can't stay on track with their finances is because they don't have time. Now, if you're watching this webinar and you're having a difficult time managing your health and your finances, and in certain cases you may say, well, I'm not even managing my health, then there are some things that are preventing you from doing that. And again, as I mentioned, one of the biggest factors is time. So let's take a look at some of these factors. Maybe it's because you're working. Maybe because you have family. Maybe because you're a caregiver for a parent or parents or other family members. Maybe it's fear, fear of the unknown, fear that you already know that you're overspending or you don't bring in enough money or income. Or maybe it's the fear of making that doctor's appointment because you're afraid of what you might find out. Or maybe it's fear of not having enough money for health care. Now, there are several other reasons that may prevent a person from managing their health and their finances. Again, these are just some of the top things that prevent people, top factors, again, that I see when working with individuals. The time. And sometimes people have all of these commitments in one. They're trying to manage their work, their family, their caregiving, and their fears all at once. And as you already know, we can't do everything, but what we can do is develop a plan to coordinate to address all of these things. So again, this is just something to think about because first of all, we have to know what those things are that prevent us from managing our health and our finances so that we can develop a plan to address them. Now, what happens when you don't have the time to manage your finances and your health? These are a few of the financial consequences. And as we know, even though we're talking about managing your finances, your health can cost you thousands of dollars. Poor health. Some of you may know people that, you know, have been hospitalized, or they have health issues, they have medicine to buy, and it's really an expensive process, or maybe you have experienced this personally. But let's take a look at what happens when you don't have enough time to manage your personal finances and your health. You may have financial and credit issues. So I have to set aside time to pay my bills. I mean, I know when they're due, but I can be so busy sometimes that I might have a bill that's due on the 13th, and the date is actually the 13th. But because I'm so busy, I forget what the actual date is. And so it's important that you have a system for writing things down, for how you want to remind yourself. But when you're so busy just trying to make it day in and day out, um, you will miss payments on bills even if you have the money. What happens if you miss payments on your bills, your dates? Well, if you're late enough, then it can go on your credit report. So then you have credit issues. You have late payments that are reported. And or you also have late charges in some cases. Also, health issues, stress and diet related. Have you ever been on the run? So you grab what you can. It might not be the healthiest option, but you have to keep moving. So you maybe you're purchasing foods that are high in sodium, high in calories, but you need to eat, you need to feed your family, because again, you're navigating all of these things. Work, family, caregiving. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. So instead of someone working for someone else, you're working for yourself, which is even can be even more stressful. I can attest to that as a full-time entrepreneur. So again, you're trying to manage all of these things. So not only are you possibly neglecting the financial responsibilities that you have, not intentionally, but now you're also not looking at your health. In addition to your diet, the stress the stress that comes with all of those factors, with managing all of those factors that I mentioned before. When is the last time you took time to check your blood pressure? These are things that I talk with to my clients about, because again, most of us are balancing more than one thing. So I will ask them, what are how's it going? If they're talking to me about their responsibilities, things that are preventing them from their financial goals or them working towards their business. And so as they're sharing these things with me, I'm incorporating strategies for how to manage their finances as well as their health. For example, as I've already mentioned, taking your blood pressure. If you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, it is important that you monitor that as well as take your medications. If you have not been diagnosed with high blood pressure and you are experiencing stress in your life, especially, it is important to get on a schedule for monitoring your blood pressure, because again, there's so many people. You don't have to be a senior citizen or elderly to have health issues. Unfortunately, I've known of people who have passed away in their 30s and 40s, maybe even younger, from heart attacks, strokes, because of stress, because of um, lifestyle, just trying to manage a lot of things, and they didn't take the time out to look after themselves, to check up on themselves. What happens if you find out you consistently have high blood pressure readings? Well, you call your doctor. Don't be afraid. And if you say, well, I don't have health insurance, then you talk with your facility to find out, hey, what kind of arrangements can you be put on, payment arrangements? Excuse me. And we're going to talk next about, in just a few moments, about what to do when you need to do all these things, but you don't have enough money. So we're going to talk about putting together a budget. But these are all the things. And again, as you also, many of you already know that are listening, healthcare can cost an individual families thousands upon thousands of dollars. So again, you already have your regular bills on top of the challenges of the bills and the responsibilities that come with health related consequences. Again, there are some things that we can't help as far as our health, but there are many things that we can. But it's about knowing how to manage both. And as I've already mentioned, the financial consequences of not managing your finance and your health, the last one on the slide, increased healthcare bills. So again, that ties back into the financial and credit issues and the health issues, stress and diet related. So again, when you don't have enough time, then you can't plan properly. You can't plan proper meals. You can't take time out for your mental health. Do you just need to take a break sometimes? Maybe taking a break is not an option. Maybe you can't go on a vacation, but you can certainly incorporate times, maybe 15, 20 minutes in your day to just take a breath, even if that means sitting in your vehicle. Where is your happy place where you can take a few minutes? And so these are things that I explore with clients because, again, when you have financial goals, all of these things play a part in reaching those things. So let's look at some first steps. So, first, you need to set a schedule. Again, these are some of the tips that I give clients, and I have to follow these rules myself. If you never set a schedule to manage your personal finances and your health, then unfortunately, leaving information in your head will go nowhere. So, you have to set a schedule. When are the best times for you to sit down throughout the month to make plans? So, for example, are you backed up with opening up your mail? Do you have a lot of mail in your mailbox? Set a schedule. I'm going to open up the mail, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, work with what you can. Okay. So, first of all, you're going to set a schedule. Now, once you set the schedule, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to set goals, financial and health, because you have to have something to work towards. Okay. So, for example, do you want to work? Are you behind on your bills? Do you want to work on getting caught up on your bills, um, looking at what you have going out versus what you have coming in, setting up a budget, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. Health goals. Do you want to try to exercise more? Do you want to try to eat better? Do you need to schedule that doctor's appointment? Um, what are those things that you need to be doing? Do you need to schedule time to check your blood pressure? Whatever those things are. So once you set a schedule, when are you going to set some of these financial and health goals? Okay. That also includes around financial, checking your credit reports, doing those kinds of things. Now, another thing that you want to do once you set your schedule, as I mentioned, create a budget, and we have a sample budget we're going to go over in just a moment. Your budget drives everything. I like to tell participants that sit in my workshops and individual clients, even if you're not a business owner, you are still the CEO of you. So just like businesses have finance meetings, you should also be having a finance meeting with yourself. You're running your household, whether you're a household of 10 or a household of 1, you still have to run your household as a business. So you need to create a budget. And a budget is really just a plan for how you're going to spend your money. You need a budget whether you're bringing in enough money or not. A common misconception among people is that when I make more money, then I'll start budgeting. No, you're going to do more of what you already do. I'm a witness to it. So again, you have to create a budget, a plan for your money so you can actually see what's going out, what's coming in, and how do you need to adjust things. And that is going to help you to reach your financial and health goals. Do you have enough money where you don't have insurance? You need to put aside some. Do you have an emergency fund? If not, how much money do you want to start putting aside? Do you need to reduce some expenses? This is really what lays the foundation and will guide you on what your next steps will need to be. It is critical. Next, find accountability. You have to be honest with yourself, okay? All of us need help in some area or areas of our life. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you know that you lack the discipline to stay on a plan, let's say you create a schedule, but you never follow through, or you start setting goals, but something will sidetrack you. That's when you need to reach out to get some help. And that's why a lot of times people will reach out to me. They know how to budget, they know how to do all these things, but they need somebody to help them stay on track. So, again, if you've tried this before and you just couldn't stay on track, you need to find accountability. And again, I'll have my information at the end where you can reach out to me if you have additional questions. You feel like, I need some help with managing my finances, integrating that, my health into my financial plan. Um, And so there's nothing wrong with that. Again, we all need help. Okay. And then don't give up. This is a managing your finances along with your health is not a destination, it's a process. Okay. And I'll keep saying it. The same things that I share with people about how to stay on track are the same things, it's the same advice I must take myself. So there'll be times where you're frustrated, there'll be times where you didn't reach your goals when you wanted to. But the most important thing is that you get back up, you fall down, get back up, keep moving, because life happens. So it's just about making sure that you make the steps, step by step. It's a step by step process. Okay. So now we're going to look at a sample budget. This again is where we find our money. Again, if you need to go to the doctor, but you're concerned about how to pay for it, again, making reaching out, asking questions, if you're behind on your bills, it starts with writing down everything. So this is a sample budget from one of my books. Well, actually this budget appears in several of my books, but this is particularly from the step by step how to improve your credit scores. And what I've done here is color coded each week, because people get paid differently. Some people get paid every week, some people get paid every 2 weeks, some people get paid monthly. So what I've done is for each week I've color coded, and as you can see out to the right, I had added a total column to show the amount of money that the person needs each week. And then I've broken it down into fixed expenses and variable expenses. The fixed expenses are highlighted in purple and orange, and then in the yellow are your variable expenses. I like to share that most of the time our money, we can find extra money in the variable expenses because that's where we waste the most money. So it's about, and as you can see in this example, this person is spending more money than what's coming in. So she has 2,500 she's bringing in, but her total expenses are 2,805. And so looking at what are some of the areas where she can reduce her expenses. Now, this was done in an Excel spreadsheet. You can use pencil, pens, paper to start, but the most important thing is that you begin a process for tracking your expenses. And I have additional strategies that I use with clients, that you can read about in my books, or if I'm working with you one-on-one. We also talk about what those strategies are for staying in your budget. Realistic strategies, because if you create an unrealistic budget, you're not going to stick with it. So how you can create something where you still integrate some enjoyment into your life. But this is where we find our money. If you don't have insurance, what can you reduce in order to make room for those things? Now you may be saying, I don't make enough money, so I've reduced everything that I can. Well, I'm glad you're thinking that, if you are, because on the next slide we're going to talk about briefly ways that you can generate additional income. But again, this is a budget, a sample budget. Again, there are apps out there that you can use, free apps. I don't care, I tell people I don't care what you use as long as you get started. But it's about tracking your expenses, your due dates, coming up with strategies for how to remind yourself. Because again, this is about your personal finances, and again, integrating your health into it. So again, if there are certain medications that you need to take, co-pays that you need to, you got to be prepared for if you have insurance, or insurance premiums, whatever those things are, this is where you look to your budget. So again, this is an example. And even when I'm doing workshops, we work through examples of how to get Susie's budget back into that total back into 2,500 versus overspending. So again, this is just an example of how this is where we get started. And this is where you all, when you're setting aside time to work with your finances, that you find these things that you need, or looking at where you can incorporate those things into your budget that you need. So now let's talk briefly about generating additional income. So you may say, okay, I don't have enough money. Well, the good news is I'm not going to send you on your way and say, well, good luck with you. But I am going to give you some examples of where to find legitimate opportunities. There's a lot of bad information out here. There are a lot of scammers out here. I'm going to share with you some of the sites that are reputable that I've sent people to that I've used. So some of them, there are a lot of work from home opportunities, such as LinkedIn. You can find these things on LinkedIn, Simply Hire, and Indeed. As I mentioned, beware of scammers. Um, if you go to these sites, you can actually type in like online job opportunities. If you want to work from home, type in work from home opportunities, online job opportunities, remote opportunities. You can set up email searches where they'll actually email you for the different like word searches or phrases, and they'll email you when there are matches to your search request. Or you can just periodically go into the search engine and search their jobs, and all of those things will come up. If you have a particular industry that you work in, you could put online job opportunities for teachers or what have you. But if you just want to get a general sense of just what's out there in general, then just put in online job opportunities, or as I mentioned, remote opportunities, and you'll see the number of opportunities that are out there. The other thing is you can leverage your skills to create a business. Some of you may be interested in starting a business, or maybe you have a business, but you need some additional income. So you can refer back to the first point that I made about work from home opportunities. But if you want to start a business, you want to leverage your skill set, get help. Um, to get started, there are small business centers located at the community colleges. Um, as I mentioned, financial coaches. I work with individuals and business owners, whether they're aspiring business owners. I partner with small business centers and um, a variety of organizations that lend money to get people prepared. So again, if you don't reach out to me, reach out to someone. But again, be aware of scammers, because there are people out there who will take your money and say, "Hey, you don't have to do anything. We'll do everything for you." But it's important that you learn a process. You need someone that's going to walk you through a process as you learn. And as I mentioned, I have all kinds of books, resources, and then I help people individually. But again, as I mentioned, you also have your small business centers that have a number of resources to help people get started with their businesses. And there are a lot of resources out there for funding businesses. And I know I have it again, but beware of scammers. Please, 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 um, beware of scammers. Um, and that's all I'll say about that. So again, there is an opportunity to generate additional income if you need it. Lastly, checking your credit report. This is important also because again, your how you pay your bills. A lot of people have medical bills, unpaid medical collections on their credit reports, along with other types of unpaid bills. So you also need to make sure you check your credit reports. That's something that can be scheduled in your time when you're working on your finances. So you're entitled to one free credit report every 12 months from all three credit reporting agencies. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. You don't have to sign up for trial offers in order to receive your reports. Now you don't have to now they don't give you free scores, but you can also go to Credit Karma and they'll give you your Equifax and TransUnion free scores and reports. But if you use Credit Karma, you also need to go to Experian to get your Experian report for free. You don't have to pay for anything. They do have paid options, but you can get your Experian score for free. That way you have your all three scores from the bureaus. So that's important because not all companies report to all three bureaus. So you need to make sure that as you're reviewing your credit reports, that you have a full picture. And Credit Karma and Experian, you can also get updates monthly. You can sign up for email alerts. You need to review your reports for errors to make sure your balances are correct. And then this is how you start to make payment arrangements and negotiate payment arrangements on things, but of course, you don't do those things until you understand what you can afford and what you can't. So, what's next? So, create a schedule for managing your finances and your health. As I mentioned, creating a budget, scheduling doctor's appointments, and other things that you may need to do. Review your credit reports for accuracy. Contact your creditors and make payment arrangements. Again, that's once you know what you can afford. Don't agree to make payment arrangements to something that you know you can't afford because you're scared, because that's not going to help your situation. You want to be able to, when you call your creditors, have some suggestions for them. um this is what I can afford, this is when I can do it. but don't ever make payment arrangements when you have no clue what you can afford. So again, you have to follow those first two steps that I've already mentioned. And lastly, create a plan to generate additional income if needed. And of course, if you have questions about anything that you've seen here, or you're interested in learning more and you need additional help, feel free to contact me. Here's my email address, my phone number. You can go to my website um, to learn more. I have, like I said, a number of resources there, webinars, books, all kinds of things. If you're on social media, you can also follow me. I'm on Twitter at ANJ Consulting, Facebook ANJ Consulting Services, Instagram at Dr. Finance. I'm also on LinkedIn at Andrea N. Johnson, PhD. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you picked up some helpful information. But don't forget to reach out to me if you need to.